All right. Um, well, welcome everyone to our webcast. We're super excited to have you join us today. And now that without the music, it's actually even better. Very happy to everyone to join our live stream today. We're gonna talk about everything that's new in Lenses 6.1, and we want to make this an interactive session. We know we can get a bit technical sometimes, but you can always use the chat to ask your comments or put your comments and ask your questions. And maybe let's start with the first question from me. And I'm curious how familiar everyone is with lenses. So put your comments in the chat, and that helps us then to also tailor the content a bit more to you. Having said that, I think it's been a very eventful year for the industry, but it also has been a very busy year for us. And we have been working on some exciting things that we want to share with you. And all of these exciting things we're working on, they come together in Lenses 6.1. And I think I have the perfect people with me to talk about Lenses 6.1 today. So maybe I can't see the next slide yet, but I have Andrew with me, who's the CTO of Lenses. Then I have Toon, who recently joined Lenses to lead our AI initiatives. And last but not least, I also have Drew, who is leading our developer advocacy program. And with that, I would like to hand over to Andrew. Andrew, over to you.
Hello, hi, I'm Andrew. So yes, we've been 6.1. It's been a hard slog. I've been with Lenses since version 1, actually, so all the way back then. So it's changed a lot over time, and we're glad that it's out now, and it's got a few features in there that we're going to talk about and showcase today. So it's not just going to be a monologue, although I've got to do the obligatory slide where we will show you some pretty cool demos, but I'll do a first brief introduction about what we're seeing in the market and how Lenses fits for those of you who don't know Lenses, and then we'll get into the demos. So what you will be seeing today is how we bring natural language and LLMs to Kafka operations, more so at the application layer and the operating layer than the platform layer, because we're all about that top layer adding value. And a new approach to give AI agents access to real-time context. So that's using our MCP and our SQL. The SQL's not new. The SQL's been there since version 1. It's the oldest SQL on top of Kafka in production that's still out there. And then we'll also show you how to migrate an app from one environment, from one cluster to another cluster with the help of AI. So that's using our MCP, it's using the IDE, and also K2K. K2K, what is K2K? K2K is Kafka to Kafka. So we've been working hard on an alternative to the proprietary solutions that are out there, such as Confluence Replicator and cluster linking, and then MirrorMaker, which has its problems. And so we've been working on another solution. This is a standalone that we have app and also integration in Lenses. It's in now in 6.1, integrated into Lenses as a preview, and we'll show you some of that in a bit. So if we move on to the next slide, I just quickly want to talk about the trends that are happening inside of the streaming world at the moment. These are the 4 that we see. Commoditization of Kafka. I've been talking about this for years, actually. Everyone's got Kafka, different flavors of Kafka. I even saw a blog the other day. Somebody's got a plugin for Kafka on top of Postgre. There's Azure Event Hubs. Even Oracle queues have a Kafka API. So instead, commoditized. It's not a big deal to get Kafka now. I'm not saying it's not hard to operate Kafka, but getting a Kafka cluster is not the big deal. And we're always interested in what you do on top of Kafka, because that's the bit that actually generates you money. And then, of course, in the streaming world, we're not immune to AI. So we're also seeing that AI productivity gains for engineering is really gaining ground. See Cursor, for example. Even ourselves, I'm always challenging my own engineers, how fast can we go? Where can we bring AI into our engineering practice and help us move faster? And it's the same from our customers, that we also hear this as well. And then third, building agents. We built an agent on top of the stream. Actually, we have an SRE agent, but we're seeing this more and more now as well. And not only building agents just to create a Flink job, right? These are actual agents on the operational workflows. So think inventory systems, fleet management systems, fulfillment systems, order tracking. We're seeing this come into play now. And how do they get access to that real-time data that's sitting inside of Kafka? And it's not always in your data lake. And then, of course, there's vendor lock-ins as well. Some people are only giving access to that with their MCP servers if, for example, they're using Tableflow or some form of Iceberg built into their product. Not with Lenses. Yes, we are a vendor, but you can take Lenses out and you can still run your apps as well. We're there to help you build those apps and get them into production faster. So how are we helping with this? So first, if we go next onto the commoditization of Kafka, like I say, we've been around since 2017. So we've got SQL engines, two types of SQL engines, SQL Snapshot engine for querying data, point in time. You don't have to move it out of Kafka. We've got processing engine as well. We've got the connectors all wrapped in our user experience, developer experience, if you will, plus the connectors that we've got and the governance, the lineage, the monitoring, all around that. But how does that help the AI productivity? So if we move on to the next slide then. We're wrapping that all in an MCP. Toon will show you this later as well. So you get all those capabilities now bundled into an MCP. And then, of course, that MCP is accessible via your IDE, for example, plus the governance as well. So you can't do anything you're not allowed to do. And then the same is true if we move on to the next slide as well. For the agents, how do the agents get access to streaming data? And again, it might not be in your warehouse, it might not be in your lake, it may never end up in your lake as well. So it may only exist in the stream. And then finally, we don't care which Kafka you are, right? You can be Confluent, you can be Red Panda, you can be a mix. We have customers that have a mix of all sorts. It doesn't matter. We don't mind. So we are true multi-Kafka. And with the K2K, the Kafka to Kafka replicator, maybe you want to move to another Kafka, we will also help you with that. So moving on, I just want to go over our principles, right? I'm not going to go all of them, but here's how we build our product and our company as well. And this is also has to do with a lot of where Lenses started. So we want everyone to have self-service. We're trying to help the platform team, but we don't want the platform team to be the bottleneck, because we want to empower the developers. If you're not in production, doesn't count. How can we get to production faster? We want to make streaming accessible to everyone. It's complicated. It's hard, I know. And we're trying to make it as simple as we can so you can actually derive value from it. Again, analytics, great, but operational workloads, we're seeing more and more, and these are driving real value for our customers. And again, vendor agnostic, right? We're not taking sides. All the Kafka providers do a great job, but we'll go across all of them in a single pane of glass, right? So to simplify the experience, you don't have to jump around, and we can help you move the data around in and out, whether it's sourcing data with the Kafka connectors we have or K2K. And of course, because I've got a big background in banking and the financial services, it's all done with governance and permissions. So my last slide, and then you can get on to the actual interesting stuff. This is what Lenses is, for those of you who don't know. It's an operating fabric to build apps and AI on Kafka, right? We've got connectors. I started writing maybe the first Kafka connector in 2016, right? So we've got a whole bunch of connectors on either side. They can feed data in, their open source Apache 2, into whatever Kafka you have, or you may have multiple Kafkas. And what we're doing is we're sitting in the middle there, providing you all the governance. So we've got data policies, we've got monitoring, alerting. We have a GitOps approach as well. We can manage your quotas as well. And then we've got everything you need for a developer. Data catalog, we've got a point-in-time query engine. You don't need to move it somewhere else, and we'll show that in action. We've got a processing engine driven by SQL again as well, right? Lightweight that you can deploy out. You don't need another cluster to do it. We've got the connectors, we have the visualization and the topology. Now we've got the MCP. So you can build that top layer, the value layer, whether it's a real-time app, a microservice, or agents, or plug it into your code assistance so you can get into production faster. Now, if there's any questions, put them in the chat. I can talk about that, but let's move on to the actual demos. So I'll hand it over to Toon.
Yeah, thank you very much, Andrew. So hey, folks, thank you for joining us and spending your evening with us, or wherever you are. I'm in the UK, coming at you from a dark room with a highly fluorescent orange shirt, so hopefully you can see me okay. For a lot of you who probably aren't familiar with MCP, let me just take a moment just to explain what it is. It stands for Model Context Protocol. I often describe it in conjunction with HTTP. Like, everyone knows what HTTP is, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It enables computers to talk to other computers and gave birth to the internet as we know it. MCP is a similar open standard model context protocol. It enables LLMs to talk to other systems. So other systems being anything you can think of: databases, CRMs, ERP systems, so your HubSpots, your Salesforces, your Postgreses, all those sort of systems. Much like how you're using HTTP now without you realizing it, it's kind of an underlying technology. MCP will be that same thing. And already the community, the folks who are building with MCP are now making it part of the background, part of the fabric of how we're building agentic systems of the future. So hopefully that was all clear. If not, please drop your questions in the chat. Happy to explain a bit more. But without further ado, let's get into what I'll be expanding on, which is some of what Andrew already alluded to. AI-assisted streaming app development. That's a big movement that we've been seeing in our customers this year. Up until probably a few months ago, I would have said this was mainly the domain of engineers, but we're starting to see a lot of other types of folks entering the fray and starting to use AI-assisted technologies, such as business teams, product owners, business analysts, and etc. So I'm going to elaborate on that in a moment. And the second demo I'll be going through today is around AI agents, how you can get access to real-time business context in your applications. So I'll dig into the first one. So I'm going to be demonstrating shortly using Claude, because Claude, and much like ChatGPT, if you're more familiar with that, it's a chat interface. It enables you to just see the back and forth. So it's kind of like your starting point for how you'd start exploring data and starting to build out agentic applications, like agentic systems. You may be familiar with these tools like Cursor and Windsurf if you're more of an engineer, because these are AI-assisted code editors. Probably many of you may be using them today. So MCP is supported in those tools, as well as in Claude, as well as in ChatGPT. So you're able to use that in many different places. In the next slide, so this is kind of like an overview of Lensys MCP, where it sits alongside Lensys, the platform, as Andrew's already explained how it works. But since Lensys has been around since 2017, it's been busy building out features and these components, these really important primitives that make sort of Kafka environments production ready. And to do that, you need several components. So one of the components that Lensys has is the SQL snapshot engine. It's a purpose-built SQL processor that enables you to explore your data in a lightweight manner and to also start building out streaming pipelines. It's really lightweight. It's based on Kafka streams. It's not based on cluster technology, so you don't have those long warm-up times that you do with some of these like cluster frameworks like Flink. It's super lightweight, super fast. Additionally, no data needs to be moved to use the SQL processor, because like a lot of alternate technologies, they use something under the hood like a ClickHouse, where they have to move the data into a central location like a warehouse or a database to process the data. But with lenses, that's not required. No data movements required. The other benefits, of course, that it works across multi-Kafka. So regardless of cloud or on-prem, whether using your Redpanda, your Confluent, your Strimzi, you can use multiple Kafkas. They all can work together in lenses. And of course, it wouldn't be production without a really good security model with fine-grained access control and IAM policies. So we have all that under the hood. And that's what made Lenses MCP so easy to build on top of. Building on top of all those things just enables you to do so much more and to go so much quicker. And here, like, as you know, how MCP will work is you're going to use natural language, and that will be translated into the calls under the hood to the APIs. And also you'll be executing SQL as well. So in the next slide, I'll talk you through what this workflow is. So the first demo workflow I'm going to do is about classifying topics for PII data. To do that, we're going to switch to my Claude desktop. Now, again, you may be familiar with ChatGPT, already using ChatGPT. So the Lenses MCP server and MCP servers are compatible with all of them. So you can use the tool of your choice. But here you've got my Claude running. The thing I tend to do, just so you can see what's happening, is I'm using a local version, which is community version of Lenses. And I've plugged my MCP server into that with a Lenses API key. And now I can list my environment. So you can see I've listed the environments. It's shown me that I have a demo environment, which is what you get with Community Edition. And I've asked it to list the topics as well. And again, you're going to see the topics that you would see in Community Edition, a bunch of these. Now, one of the tasks that I normally have to do as a data engineering teams is to start classifying your data, to start being able to govern it and understanding what's in those topics. Now, to do that, that's quite a time-consuming process. You have to be familiar with the data. You kind of have to explore the topics, take samples of messages, just understand what kind of data is flowing through. Doing it after the fact is often like really, really like a time-consuming task, especially when you have many topics. So one of the tasks I usually do is I go through and I make sure that all the topics have appropriate metadata in them. So things like descriptions, enabling tagging as well, so that we can tag any topics that would have sensitive information in them. So now that I have a list of topics, what I'm going to do next, as you can see in this prompt here, is I'm going to describe each topic. So I'm going to run it first because it takes a moment. So I'm going to describe each topic in one sentence. I'm going to ask Claude to use the schema and sample messages as necessary, highlight the topic as sensitive if any fields represent PII. Now, what it's doing is it's invoking some SQL now. So there's an MCP tool that's been exposed in the MCP server that enables it to execute SQL. So I've just expanded there so you can see what the call is and what the SQL actually that it's trying to execute is, as well as the responses. So it's going through and it's executing that SQL. Okay, so there's going to be a few steps because it's going through each of the, I think there are like 5 topics there or 6 topics. It's going to go through each of those and retrieve sample messages. And now it's kind of started to reason about them and it's starting to figure out what's actually in these topics and decided that, okay, it's identified a few that are sensitive. And there you go. So we've got a sea vessel position reports, which could be sensitive, and New York yellow taxi trip data. So some telemetry data with ways of identifying individuals through location patterns. So it's flagged all these up. So already I've saved a lot of time. Like if I refresh to this Kafka estate, I would already have saved so much time. What can you do from here? The thing you normally want to do is take action on it. So now that we have MCP, we've got tools to be able to do that. So I'm going to paste that command in here and run it. I want to now update the metadata description. So that sentence that Claude just generated for me for each of those topics, I want them to take that and set that as the description on each of the topics. And where it has identified each topic as sensitive, I'd like it to tag it as sensitive. This bit might take a while. Let's see how long it takes to do that. But it's going to go through, have a think. Hopefully Claude will also not go down at this point. Like as much as I love doing live demos, it's always interesting to see what it comes up with because they're non-deterministic. Okay, it's decided it wants to update the data set topic description. So I'll expand that. And this is the call it's going to make with the description. Let's see how quickly that is. If it takes too long, I'll switch back, but let's see how quick it is. I'll take a moment here just to browse through, see if there are any questions as well. So if there are any, I can start answering them here. So I'll take a moment. No questions so far. Yeah, please do ask me any questions if you have about MCP in general, or if how you can start using this like within your tools, or just comment with the tools you're using. Like I've explained, that we're using Claude and Cursor. If you're using something different, let us know, because they all slightly require different configuration, and it's useful for me to know. So it's starting to do this. So it's updating each of the descriptions. This is running locally on my machine, so it's probably having a hard time doing that. So it's going to start doing all of that. But you can see that it's actually doing the calls. And if you browse to your local Lenses instance through the web UI, you'll see that it started to update them. Okay, and it's moved on to, okay, so it's in success tree. So it's updated the topic descriptions. It's now going to tag the topics that it is deemed sensitive as well. So it's going to do that. I think this is going to take a little while. It's running on my local machine, so I think you get the idea. Like there could be like hundreds or thousands of topics. You could basically just leave it to run, and it would automatically go and do those updates by itself. So I think from here you can kind of see the power as it loops through and does that. Andrew, yes, you had a question?
Oh, I'm back. No, I also just wanted to highlight that the SQL engine as well. We showed that it's just doing a select star from, but it can do much more, right? So that's just one of the SQL statements that it's writing. You can join, you can filter, you can aggregate as well. So if you've got any questions about that, I can also answer them as well.
Yeah, I always explain it in the context of kind of like ETL, like you're building streaming data pipelines. You're filtering, you're aggregating. You're doing that at each step, and you're writing to a new output topic, which is the input for another application. And so you can really build these things up. It's going to take a while. I think it's going to iterate through all of them. And like, because it's running locally, I wonder like what it's doing. It's having a think. So should we switch back to the slides, and I'll just continue. But I think you get the idea for like how this actually works. Okay, okay, so thank you, Scott. There's a question that's come in. So I missed it. What data is Claude using in order to deduce topic descriptions? Maybe if I just scroll up, this is the benefit of a live with live questions. If I scroll up, you probably missed the bit where I asked it to describe each topic in one sentence. So Claude will be sampling each of those topics as well and determining what's inside there. So we're using the power of an LLM to deduce what's in there, and it's generated these sentences.
To expand on it, Lenses has a data catalog inside it. So Lenses has been doing this for a long time. It's got a schema registry. That's a help as well. But it's also internally, Lenses is sampling the messages to determine the schema. So, but then what the LLM is doing is a combination of that data catalog plus the query engine to go out and actually look at the messages to try and determine what it is.
Wonderful. Yeah, hopefully that answered your question. If there are no more questions, let's switch back to the slides, and I'll continue, and then I will switch back to Claude again for the next demo shortly anyway. Yeah, I think there's a lag in the controls as well as we switch back. Okay, so now I've just shown you the classifying topics. So if we go into the next slide, I'll go into the second workflow. So this one's more around AI agents. So now that you're able to use the LLM and the Lenses MCP server to get real-time context as you're developing these streaming applications and streaming pipelines, what you can do next is now build out these AI agents that will take in that streaming data as business context. So yeah, you may be familiar with tools like Make. So before I always thought, right, engineers, this is really going to benefit engineers a lot, but we're finding business teams are benefiting from this a lot. So even non-technical folks who are using these tools like Make and N8N, which are low-code to no-code tools, enabling you to build out like quite complex workflows using LLMs, and they all support MCP, so being able to build using MCP servers, connecting to like a whole bunch of different systems. So I'm going to go through a workflow here now, which will help you to understand how you can start using real-time data as context. So let's think of this situation. So let's say you have an order management AI agent that needs to fulfill a sales order, and it's determined that there isn't enough inventory. So let's say someone, let's say you're B2B sales, and someone has ordered like 1,000 computers. You only have about a fraction of those. So there's not enough inventory. What would you do then? There are a number of different options. And usually to build this out programmatically, to write code for this, it's quite complex, and you have to deal with all these scenarios. You may need to, defer to a specialist, a subject matter expert in this, who is a human and can reason for you and tell you what you should do here. So this is usually the setup, but the game has changed a little with LLMs because they can do the reasoning that a human might otherwise be able to do. So you can start using agents in your workflow here. So if we switch out, I'm just going to switch to a new chat. Next slide. I think there's one more slide. Yeah, okay, actually, let's go to the demo with Claude then. So I'll share my Claude and I'll just get my prompt ready. So again, I'm using Claude. I've opened a new chat, and I'm going to do this using the community edition, which has sea vessel data. So I'm going to ask, do I have any topics containing sea vessel data? So from that sales order, so as I'm running this, the context of this really is when you're dealing with telemetry data, it becomes very, very difficult. So everyone's used to like a CRM or an ERP system, a system like SAP, where you keep inventory items, you track your inventory, you understand your stock levels and your purchases, things like that. That's quite straightforward to plug into. It's not quite real-time data, but what is real-time data, like logistics data in sea vessels and maritime data. So being able to tap into that data will become really important for us. So, okay, my Claude is okay. It is working. It's just a little slow. So it's going to list the environments and figure out what's happening here. So this example use case here is really how you can go even deeper. So beyond the ERP system, beyond your SAP, beyond these systems that are used to working in batch, you can now start tapping into information. We've got companies that are exposing their data around logistics, including maritime. So this is a bit of a contrived example, but you can imagine if your company has access to sea vessel data, you can start tracking where some of these computers are getting shipped in across the sea. So it's going to list the environments. It's going to search through the topics now, and it's going to try and figure out if there's any sea vessel data. Of course, it's going to find that one. It's called Sea Vessel Position Reports. And Claude being very helpful, it's going to try and give you some information. Now I'm told that I looked it up in the ERP system. I'm told that the shipment that it's going to arrive in is on the ship with this identifier. So what is the exact real-time location of this vessel? So you might be able to start informing. You might start to have an idea for if there are any delays in the shipment, whether you should think of an alternative, source it from a different supplier, that sort of thing. So you're able to do that. What's happened there? So when you ask about the real-time location, it's able to pull it in. Okay. So I think I've hit a limit here. So, okay, let me switch to the one I've prepared previously. That will help me to demonstrate that. So back to Claude, it should be loading my previous one here. Okay, yeah, it's doing that. Ooh, it's just a little slow and laggy. Okay, so I've asked, so what I did, so here's one I prepared earlier. When you ask it for the real-time location, it's going to execute SQL. So this is the sort of SQL that it executes. As Andrew mentioned, it's using the underlying SQL processor to do this. And it's able to determine the position of that vessel. And from there, you can start tracking historical positions. You can start trying to extrapolate where it's going to be at any given point in time and start like adding those as data points within like SAP or your other systems. So that's another kind of like bit of a fantastical kind of example, but this hopefully gives you the idea for what's possible with this sort of technology. As long as that data source is available somewhere and an MCP server exists for it, you can start tapping into that data. And I'm obviously demonstrating this inside of a conversational tool like Claude, but this is exactly the same chat that would be happening between AI agents and these other systems as well. So this is just a nice visual representation of the chats that the AI agents in your agentic systems would be having. So we go back to the slides. And this is like my final slide before I hand it over, but this is kind of what I've been describing for you. So the first workflow is largely in the domain of engineers, but we're increasingly seeing other business teams starting to use tools like Cursor to start tapping into that data as they're developing their pipelines And secondly, context for business workflows. So in any systems where you need to enrich your SAP data, your Salesforce data, your HubSpot data with real-time data, you're able to do that, both using Claude or chat tools, but also using tools like N8N and Make. So that's kind of how it works. Hopefully this has given you an idea of the benefits there. Doing it manually would be crazy. I rarely use the term game changer, but MCP I'm super bullish on. It really is a game changer. We're seeing, we kind of timed it ourselves, like if we had to do it manually versus doing it via MCP, and we're seeing like 4,000% speed increases. To do that iteratively through a UI or through a terminal, it would take so much longer. So we're seeing such great efficiency gains. So yeah, I love it. You're going to see more content from me about this. So that's it from me. Please check out the GitHub repo. I'll post that there in the comments. Give us a star, leave us your questions, and thank you for your time. And I will hand it over to Drew.
One note I just want to add is well, that was all done on top of Kafka. We didn't ship the data somewhere else. That's live on top of Kafka. You don't need Iceberg. You don't need a data lake. Straight on Kafka.
Yeah, that's the beauty of MCP as well. Like it's straight from Kafka. You don't need to load it to anywhere else. Like the agent goes to where the data is. So yeah, it's wonderful.
All right, over to the other Drew.
All right. Fresh live data. That's all we work with here at Lenses. Hello, everyone. My name is Drew Etzel. I am going to be kind of tying everything together. So everything that is new in Lenses 6.1, I'm actually going to be using in my demo. So I'm going to be using an MCP again with Claude. As Toon pointed out, we don't, we work with any of the LLMs, but that's just the one we happen to have an account with. An IDE and K2K, the IDE interface, and then K2K. And then I will explain what each one of these are a little bit further in depth. But I think I'm going to spend actually most of my time with you in a very cool demo where I'm going to demo migrating from an old school MSK cluster to an express broker version of an MSK cluster. So we'll talk about the migration. And the center of our migration story is our product called K2K. K2K as a standalone product has been around probably, I think it was released last May. So we've had the standalone version. Customers have been using our standalone version. The big release of K2K and Lenses 6.1 is it is now fully integrated into the Lenses UI. You get all of the power of Lenses K2K, but you get to interact with it via the Lenses UI. So what exactly is K2K, either standalone or integrated? It is a Kafka to Kafka replicator. It's specifically designed to take kind of the best ideas, but not the best ideas of Mirror Maker, but not. It doesn't run like Mirror Maker, but it helps you migrate across clusters. It helps you replicate data for data sharing. But it is vendor agnostic. So, Confluent has several really good replication products, but those are, they're for the only for the Confluent cinematic universe. They aren't for, if you want to go outside of that. K2K is Kubernetes native, integrated with Lenses UI. It has lower compute costs, so it's, you can scale it much more easily. It is not based on Kafka connectors. It is much, much simpler, as you're going to see. It has built-in metrics, which we're also going to see. It also integrates with the Lenses UI, as I said before, which makes it very easy to use. But here's the key. Specialty here. It also includes the Lenses UI IAM model, so you can attach security to your K2K replication through the Lenses AI or UI. So, next slide. The other key feature I'm going to be demonstrating to you here is our new IDE Studio. So Lenses works primarily with developers, and developers work primarily with IDE, so VS Code and things of that nature. So they have a very useful way of interacting with the world. So we've made Lenses 6.1 new UI include this IDE style interface. We're also going to be coming out with an IDE plugin that plugs directly into your IDE, but that's for I'm getting ahead, but we're not to that release yet. So, and then, like I said before, there's the integrated K2K experience. You're going to see all of this in the demo, so some of this will make very more sense. Particularly, you're going to see just how useful the IDE Studio can be when you're doing an actual migration with K2K. So next slide. So one thing to keep in mind, so one of the things I'm going to be demonstrating here is an app migration. So we are going from an old MSK cluster to the new ExpressBroker cluster. And if you're not familiar with MSK and ExpressBrokers, MSK is the AWS Kafka offering. They've recently come out with ExpressBrokers. ExpressBrokers are less expensive versions of MSK. Like they are they are up to 40% cheaper according to the AWS website. So there's a lot of benefit to migrating to them. Now, as you can see on my little run book here, migrating from Kafka to another Kafka and bringing all the consumers along and the producers along and all that entails is really a big project. It is a very daunting project because at some point you're going to have some downtime. You're going to have everything disconnected, at least for us, hopefully a short period of time, and then to bring it back up on the other side. So a lot of our customers would like to migrate, but it's too daunting a task. They don't want to dedicate a team of their developers and their platform engineers, multiple weeks of planning for this migration and completing this migration. So what I'm going to demo to you here now is actually doing this migration all by myself. With the help of Claude. So let's go ahead and share my screen now. All right, that's perfect. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is just how easy it is to set up a K2K replication within Lenses UI. Now, the first thing you're going to need to do if you're migrating from one Kafka cluster to another is you're going to need to start replicating that data from the old cluster, the source cluster, to the destination cluster. So that's what I'm going to show you here. So here I am in my Lenses UI. And I'm in the Kafka to Kafka setup screen. And I'm going to come here and I am going to create a new Kafka to Kafka replication from my old MSK cluster to my ExpressBroker cluster. So I'm going to create a new Kafka to Kafka app. And so this is the interactive screen within the Lenses UI. We're actually working with beta software here. It hasn't officially, I think it officially releases this week. So that's why, you're seeing things like preview mode here. But it's just a matter of giving it a name. So I can just come in here, give it a quick name. I'll call this credit card replicator. So I'm replicating credit card data. That's the idea here. I can give this a name. I'm just going to leave this. You can fill all this information out. You'll notice as I fill in things on the left-hand side here, this YAML over here on the right-hand side is also getting filled out automatically for me. So give me just a second here. So let me select my source environment. I'm going to be, now this is a test deployment. I am running this is like a dress rehearsal for my actual prod migration. So you'll see here, I'm going to be pulling from my dev development environment. That's my source. And then so then the next thing you pick here is actually the Kubernetes namespace you want K2K to run in. So we're going to be running it in the MSKS namespace. And then finally, I'm going to be selecting my target environment. So this is a trial run. This is not, this isn't the real deal. This isn't production. We're doing a rehearsal here. So I'm just going to be going from dev to staging. So you'll see here, as I've picked my source cluster, my source names, or my runtime environment, my namespace, and then my destination cluster, all of that got filled into my YAML here. And then it's a matter of finding my topic that I want to replicate. So I'm going to be replicating my credit card transactions. Now, for something like credit card transactions, I probably want exactly once delivery. We probably don't want duplicates. I can map my schemas. K2K will copy over your schemas automatically as part of the replication process. And then it's just a matter of clicking save and deploy, and then this application will spin up. Now, I did a cooking show cheat here. I actually already set up my credit card replicator because it needed to be running for the rest of my demo. But I just wanted to show you just how easy it is. And here it is running. You can come in here. You can see this is the YAML configuration that I was setting. Now, by default, Lenses will automatically deploy K2K to Kubernetes for you. But if you are, working with something like Argo CD or some other kind of GitOps, you can actually just copy this YAML, send it over to Argo CD, send it over to your GitOps, and it will do the actual deploying of K2K. And then, you can come in here, you can see the application metrics, you can see that it's healthy, you can see all the different partitions. So all of this within the UI. If you want to touch YAML, you can touch YAML. If you never want to touch YAML, you don't ever have to touch YAML. So that's what I do love about K2K. Now, let me switch over to the Lenses Studio here. So this is where what I was talking about earlier, this is like, this is patterned after like something like VS Code. So you can see here that this looks very similar to a normal IDE. We have various tabs. I can scroll around through these various tabs here. And I'm going to be talking about the information in these tabs in just a minute. I just wanted to show you some of the features of the IDE Studio that is new in Lenses 6.1. You can bookmark different topics that you interact with often. And then individual topics down here, you can bring up the data view, schema view, and the consumer view. And we're going to see just how useful this type of interaction is when we're going to do our actual migration. So that's the IDE Studio. Let me show you kind of what we've done here and what we're actually looking at within the IDE Studio. So on the left-hand side here, I have our MSK Dev. This is our source cluster. And then on the right-hand side, I have MSK Staging. This is our destination cluster. We have both of these clusters open at the same time. I can look at them side by side very easily here. And so let's talk about what I'm looking at here. So what I am looking at here, this is my source topic, credit card transactions. This is my destination topic, also called credit card transactions. Exact same name. You can preserve the topic name, and that's really handy if you're doing replication for disaster recovery. Now, one thing to notice here that's a little bit different on our destination side is we have these headers. Lenses K2K, optionally, you can turn it off or on, will add these headers into your destination topics. And the point of these headers is to facilitate the offset translation. Now, what do I mean by offset translation? Well, when you're replicating data from one Kafka cluster to another, one thing that's going to happen is offsets on your source cluster are not going to be the same as offsets on your destination cluster. If you starting with a brand new cluster, your old cluster could be on offset number 7 million, but your brand new cluster is going to start with offset 0. That's just how Kafka works. So one of the trickier parts of doing this kind of migration is doing what we call the offset translation. So what an offset translation is look, if you'll see here, in our destination cluster, in these headers, we have K2K offset and K2K partition. These are the source offset and partition. So you'll see here, this offset is 23,835, but the actual offset here on the destination cluster is 24,168. So they're very off. They're off by like 300. So what I wanted to do here and to show you with these two data views is I can come over here to my source data and I can search for this offset. So I can search for offset 23,835 and I can search for this partition, meta partition equals 2. And now I have pinpointed this exact source event. And here is the destination event. So I can verify, does my mapping work? Is my mapping working correctly? Well, my transaction IDs are identical. My timestamps are identical. My customer ID is identical. My merchant and the category, everything here is identical. So this is a really good way for you to quickly eyeball are my offsets translations working correctly? Now, I want to show you a way to actually use Claude to do this in an even more systematic way. So I'm going to bring up Claude here. Oops, there we go. There we go. I'm going to bring up Claude here. Let me just paste in. I have these prompts on hand. I'm just going to paste them in to make sure we save time. But I'm asking Claude, take 5 random events from the 100 most recent offsets in the source environment, and then compare them using the K2K headers on the destination environment. Just pick 5 random events. I want to make sure my offset translation is working correctly. So let's hand this over to Claude. Now, Claude's going to take his time thinking about this, and cross your fingers he doesn't crash. While Claude is thinking about this, I want to come back over to my studio here so we can show some of the other comparisons. So, for example, you can also view your schema so that I can see my source, I can see my destination schema. And then over here, I can actually see my consumers. So you can see here, I've got these 3 consumers, dashboard consumer source. I've got 3 of them because I have 3 partitions. These are all active. They currently have no lag. And then over here on my destination cluster, I have the consumer group pre-created, but it's not actually active yet because I'm not quite ready to do the cutover. But we're almost there. We just need to run a quick verification with Claude. let's see what he's come up with. All right, so he has found some example events, and now he is running the comparison. Let's give him a couple of minutes to generate the comparison table. Here it comes. Look at that. All right. All right, so Claude has gone through and all 5 events successfully replicated. All of them are matching across, so we got perfect one-to-one offset mapping. So this is a very good sign. Doing this by hand, even with lenses, would be a pretty tedious process, but I just typed in a pretty simple prompt here, and away Claude went. So this is a very good sign. So now what we need to do is we need to stop our consumers on the source side. And then we're going to need to figure out what was our final, what was our final offset on the source side. And then we're going to map that over to the destination side. And we're going to use Claude again to kind of help us do that. So the idea here is this is the kind of thing that if you're doing this without something like lenses, without something like K2K, if you're just trying to patch this together with Mirror Maker, it's probably going to take a team of you. Here in my simple demo cluster, I've only got 3 partitions. Your production cluster might have 30 partitions. It might have 10 different consumers. So, that's 300 different consumers that you might be working with. So you can really easily see how this type of migration may never get done because it's just too daunting to even try to sort through. So, but let's go ahead and shut down our source consumers. There they are. They are now all inactive. So now this is our official downtime. So what we're going to do now is I am going to ask Claude to pull the offsets of my my source consumers and then bring up the destination consumer offsets that are mapped. So let's do that. This is a little bit longer of a prompt. So the last committed offsets from the lenses that's connected to MCP, the consumer called dashboard consumer source. So I'm just telling him all the different parts that we're going to be querying here. So let's get him going. Claude should play music or something while he's doing this is my my big idea for Anthropic. We'll see if okay, so now he's got the 3 ending offsets of the source. Now he is querying the K2K headers to find the destination offset translation. Give it just a few more seconds here. All right, so now here is our offset translation results. Very quickly, like I said, this took me, 2 minutes to write up the prompt, and it took Claude probably a minute to run this whole thing. So now I've got my source, I've got my targeted translated offset, so I can actually come in here and reset my destination consumer group with the correct offset. So I'm not reprocessing data. I don't have duplicate transactions, all the things that could possibly go wrong by just randomly starting up consumers on our destination cluster. So let me come back over here. Now, one thing that you can do with lenses, if I wanted to, I could come in here and I could manually change these. I could, get the data out of Claude, come in here and manually change it. But in the interest of time, I've actually programmatically set that up behind the scenes. So what's going to happen is, based on the findings of Claude, I'm actually going to bring up my consumers on the destination side. Give them a chance to come up. Here they come up. Now they picked up where Claude told them to pick up. And now they're going to slowly work their way through this backlog. So now there it is. They've already worked their way through the backlog. They are up to date. I could start, I could start running tests. I could start running verifications. And then, once I was satisfied that these new consumers are working correctly on the destination cluster, I could actually shut down my producer on my source cluster and migrate my producer over to my destination cluster, shut down K to K, and now I'm up and running on my destination cluster. So I did all of this. Like I said, this is probably 2 weeks worth of work. In the real world, if you're using something like Mirror Maker and the Kafka CLI, but I did all of this, all by myself. I had 30 minions in the form of Claude, but I did do all of this very quickly, all within a very rapid bit of time here. So let's come back here. So again, this was a super easy migration. I ran over time, but I got excited about my demo. Forgive me. Super easy migration, all the way from your MSK old school to your MSK Express brokers. One more slide. So if you would like to try Lenses 6.1, we have a free version. It's called the Lenses Community Edition. You can go to lenses.io. They'll give you a Docker command to actually try it out if you want to try it on your laptop. We also provide Helm charts if you want to install it in your Kubernetes cluster. All right. So Q&A. Sorry I took too long. Don't be shy.
Any questions? It is out now. 6.1 is out.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, it's out. All right.
It's out. The community edition should be updated. So away you go, have a play. There's other goodies in there. We've made it easier to connect to your Kafka as well. And there'll be more releases coming, and you'll see more improvements to the studio, more things being lifted and put in there, and more features going into Kafka because we're not done with it yet. We will be putting in automatic offset translation in the future. What we showed here was a manual way to do it, still perfectly valid, bit of downtime, but there's more to come.
Yeah, more to come on the MCP as well. So it's an ongoing thing as new specifications come out. So MCP's just about celebrating its 1 year anniversary. So it came out last November. So yeah, the spec is ever changing. There are more goodies being added. We'll of course be staying on top of that because an MCP server is not a one shot. You just got to evolve with the spec as well. So we'll be doing that. So yeah, it's already out. Check us out on GitHub. Give us a star to show us your support and follow the project.
Tune that MCP server. Yeah, it changed me from an AI MCP skeptic to I am a true believer now, man. I use that thing all the time now. So
yeah, whenever I land in any community or any event or any like team with a customer, that's the first thing I just say. Hey, are you using MCP? If they don't know what MCP is, I'm probably in for a hard ride. But when they sort of know, it's a joy to. It's a different temperature in the room, basically.
It is. Yeah, I just can't get over it. So it's amazing to me.
Yeah. There's still a lot of work to be done around putting guardrails, and we'll be talking about that like in subsequent videos.
Well, you can use it from Claude. You can use it from integrated into Cursor, into VS Code as well, and we'll also integrate it directly into Lenses. So while you can still enjoy the power of the studio, you can also type away, right? If you don't know that SQL syntax, it'll get it for you and slam it down either in your IDE or inside of Lenses itself.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really the period of exploration. So to be using it in something like Claude, like in a chat client, is a really great start. And from there, you'll start figuring out what prompts do I need to translate and add to my AI agents as I build out my agentic system. So using it in Claude or ChatGPT as a conversational agent is the first step. So I encourage everyone to get started today with that.
And if you are still an AI skeptic, you can still log into Lenses, press buttons, and write SQL, or via the APIs. Everything's got an API, so you can do it that way.
Yeah, Drew was doing that
point.
only
Very
recently.
Yes, exactly.
And there's also a ton of things that we haven't showed that has been in Lenses for a very long time, and that you can all explore in a community edition, or maybe you already know. Should we conclude it? Should we leave it at that?
Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
I
everybody.
don't see any questions.
A bit colorblind with all this orange now, so.
Yeah, I didn't get the memo. Next time we'll tell me.
All right. Yeah.
All right. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks, folks.
And
Thank you.
see you in the next stream.
Next stream. All right.
All right. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.